Hello and welcome to my vlog series Strictly Java, about all things, you guessed it, Java. If you're expecting something on computer coding, stay tuned. You're in for a treat, something far more interesting. The subject of Java, as described by one author, is simply inexhaustible. The last word of it is never said. She was right. So like me, have your mind blown away by the history of this island, its impact and influences, and the amazing characters that populate its history.
From saints to spies, explorers to exploiters, invaders to resistance fighters, freedom fighters to presidents, film directors to photographers, kings to intellectuals, they are all here. And whilst this list is long, it's the people I have met on my travels who have inspired me. First, let's see how it all began. And the journey began in Menteng. The name of a fruit, the name of a creek. We don't know which came first, but Menteng is in central Jakarta and evocative of an exclusive neighbourhood, full of fast disappearing colonial houses, as well as luxurious new ones, but still low-rise and green with its parks and shady tree-lined streets. This all came about because Menteng became the first planned neighbourhood of Jakarta. At the time, it was still on the southern fringes of the city, and the concept behind Menteng was to create a garden city, a green and organised neighbourhood with a sense of community, replete with houses with gardens, low fences, and public amenities such as parks and schools. This was still during the Dutch colonial period, so whilst the concept was in line with progressive thinking of European urban planners, it was primarily designed to address the needs of the growing Dutch population of the city. The first design for Menteng was by architect Piet Moyen in 1910. He himself was responsible for some still iconic buildings, such as the Kungstring building and his office, NV Puplug, now the Chut Mutia Mosque. In subsequent years, there were many changes to Moyen's original design, but by the time the Japanese took control of the Dutch East Indies in March 1942, the neighbourhood was fairly complete. Menteng today is not how it was planned. The garden city concept has given way to high fences, buildings that have encroached on gardens, and infrastructure such as pavements that are more for cars than pedestrians. To see more about how Menteng has changed over the years, I highly recommend you look at Instagram groups and books such as these. But it's not for me to mourn old Menteng or to recount its history. What inspired me was something totally different. If you look at a map of Menteng, you will see different quarters are named after different things. Mountains, fruits, trees, islands, and the towns of Java. For me, there was something magical about the names of towns such as Probolinggo, Bondowoso, and Kertosono that got me hooked. Despite having lived in Jakarta for many years, I knew little about these towns, and what surprised me more was when I looked at a map in detail, there were towns that I'd never heard of, such as Wuleri, Juana, Tayu, Mayong, and Lasem. You would expect streets to be named after the bigger towns, but what was happening in these smaller towns, not so well known today, that 100 years ago streets would be named after them?
The solution was clear. It was time for me to get out of Jakarta and see Java.
In this way, my travels would highlight the changing fortunes of towns across Java over a century, similar to how Menteng represents the changing fortunes and ideals of a Jakarta neighbourhood.
But along the way, I learnt a lot more than just about the towns of Java, and I want to share these uniquely Java stories with you. Let me tell you what to expect from each of these vlogs. In each vlog, I will visit a town of Java, a town that has or once had a street named after it in Menteng.
And I will also share the things I find interesting about Java, from ghosts to traditional herbal tonics. What you won't get is a deep history, a cultural commentary on everyday life in Indonesia, visits to remote places, or a load of funnies. But I highly recommend all these ones, and hopefully they will recommend me too. And you won't be getting a culinary tour of Java, unless it's sweet.
Siap, terima kasih.
So if your curiosity has been aroused, simply press subscribe below and
Join me on my Strictly Java travels, and let's see Java through Menteng.